10, so I pull in a Ken. Like Jazzy, Stacy, Nikki. All of the Barbies is pretty. Damn. All of the Barbies is bad. It girls.
Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. It's Keeping Up with K. If you don't know my name stand for, now you know. Today's video, we're gonna talk about nursing school tips. Let's get into it. Alright y'all, so I've been getting a lot of comments and questions about nursing school, and I should have did a video like this, but I guess it's a good time because school is starting back up. But if you see me looking down, I got my little notes written out, and I got a lot of stuff to say. I'm gonna try to put time stamps if I can figure that out. All right, so let's talk about the supplies you'll need. My school doesn't start until September. I'm sure some schools start in August, but I'm a little late, but whatever. So this might ruffle some feathers, but an iPad, a tablet is not a laptop. And they told us in our orientation and in our welcome letter that we should not plan on using the iPad as a laptop because you're gonna run into problems when it's time to take our exams. We take our exams on our own devices, and you need a laptop to take an exam because a lot of people have ran into technical problems, and there's certain things that on the teacher's end they block cell phones, or I don't know how that works exactly, but there's been people who only have an iPad, they have to come up to the front of the class and they have to try to figure something out with the teacher, and sometimes they can do something and they're good, but other times they have to go to the computer lab to take a test, or they have to use the teacher's laptop, and that's just too much of a hassle. Also, Apple products, MacBooks, I wouldn't recommend them because Apple makes it so their system is not compatible with other things. So we use Microsoft Word in my school, and people who use MacBooks, you can't just download the documents, the assignment, and just work off on it. You gotta do some extra steps to convert it, and I feel like that just make your life harder than it needs to be. So I don't know, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but you know, if you just get a laptop. You can get a tablet too to take notes and use in conjunction with your laptop, but it doesn't replace a laptop. So for certain classes, I do write out my notes on a notebook, and so yeah, you're gonna need a notebook, you're gonna need some pens, pencils, maybe some highlighters, note cards for when you're studying. And let me show you guys my planner. All right, I don't know if y'all can see, but I got a planner up there, a whiteboard planner, and then I have this small little planner too. So let me see, make sure I don't have nothing crazy in here. I don't think so. So I color coded mine. I would just write out my big exams that are coming up, big assignments I have to do. I'll write my work schedule on here, and I think well, maybe not in this. Well, yeah. And I'll write out my bills, just everything that I got going on for the month. A planner for nursing school is essential because you just want to plan ahead of time. You want to make sure you have enough time to, do your assignments, your big assignments, because a lot of things in nursing school will be time consuming, and also making sure you have enough time to properly study before you have an exam. So make sure y'all get one. Also, some more supplies to get. You're gonna need a stethoscope. I think this is the Littman #2. I think I paid $70 or so for this. I got mine on Amazon. I feel like I've seen them on sale right now for $50, but I can link those below. You're gonna need some pen lights for when you're doing your health assessments or whatever, and this is for measuring the size of the pupils. And then I think this just came with my kit. I don't think they told us we necessarily need scissors, but I haven't used these yet, so maybe in the future. So before the semester starts, I like the way that my school did it. So once we got our welcome letter, they also sent us a document of medical abbreviations and terms that we should study ahead of time before the semester starts. So once you get to class, once you get to your lecture, you're not confused about what the teacher is talking about. So hopefully they did that for y'all too, but if not, hopefully I remember to insert the little document that they sent us. So there will be stuff like, what does PRN mean? HTN, what does Strider mean? Like that type of thing. Some of the medical terms I was familiar with, but some of the things I haven't heard of. But yeah, so because I do be on nursing talk a lot, so there were some things I picked up from TikTok or watching medical shows or whatever. But I would suggest you look over that stuff before school starts. So before class starts, honestly, I would never do this. Well, it depends on what the class was. Some classes I would. She kind of like the way the teacher set up our class, we kind of was forced to do it this way. But the best way to learn is to prepare before class and then teach yourself back the information. So before class starts, look over all of your lecture slides, read your book, maybe take a little bit of notes if you're up for it. And then once you go to lecture, just add on to that information that you already tried to teach yourself, and then go to lecture with questions for your professor. Also, maybe watching some YouTube videos before class will be helpful as well. But for my health and illness class, we had to take a pre-test. So I would just read over the slides, read the book, and then take a pre-test. It was like a short 10-question test, but I think it was just, the pre-test was just for completion. The post-test was what was for an actual score. But yeah, that just kind of forced us to familiarize ourselves with the information before class, and I think that was pretty helpful. So now let's talk about some exam tips, study tips. I would suggest to begin studying 2 weeks before you have an exam if you can, but at minimum probably 1 week. I don't know if I really studied 2 weeks ahead. Most of the time I feel like I never just had the time to do that, but I would at least try to do it 1 week before. And let me show you guys my note card. So let's see, I would just write out some questions on one side and then the answers. I would just go chapter by chapter, and I would write out what the topic is, and then just kind of pull the information from the slides that I thought was important and make questions on one side, answers on the other. My handwriting, y'all. I just pulled some note cards on my backpack, but this is how they looked, and I would just study from that. Another method that I learned from TikTok, I haven't did it for my first semester, but I'm probably gonna do it for next semester, is the active recall method. So what you do is you look over your PowerPoint slides, you read your book, and then you just write out everything that you can remember from memory. So you put all your notes away, write out everything you can remember, and then once you go through all of the topics, you go back to your notes, you go back to your book, and see what things you missed and just kind of fill in the blanks. And I think you're supposed to just do that over and over until you have the concept down. Another video I seen on TikTok, this lady used Chat GPT, so I guess it's some type of AI thing. She'll upload her professor's lecture slides, and then she'll write like, create a NCLEX style exam, multiple choice, and it would make an exam with questions and answers for you, and she would study that way. So I'm definitely gonna look into trying that. I don't know if it's free or not, probably not, but I think that would be really helpful when studying. So maybe start off by making note cards, going over, making sure you understand that, then maybe doing the active recall, and then lastly doing making your own practice exam. Also, YouTube can be helpful. Some of the channels I heard were good. Sarah Registered Nurse, Simply Nursing. I think the other channel I seen was Nexus Nursing. I heard was really good. But if all those methods don't work for you, hopefully your school has some type of tutoring in place. Before we move on to the next topic, a big tip once you're taking an exam, y'all. Well, some people say read the answer options and then read the question, but I don't think that really matters. Try to like read the question twice and then answer, but always go with your first instinct. Always go with your first instinct, because I want to say 95% of the time I went with one answer and then I changed it and my original answer was correct. There's been very few times where I changed my answer and my second answer was right and my first answer was wrong. So just go with your first instinct. Only change your answer if you read the question wrong. Are you listening? Only change your answer if you read the question wrong. Don't be like me. But now I just want to tell y'all some of the classes I took. I think it's certain things vary, but across the board it should be the same. So I had my clinicals. My first clinical, we were at a long-term care facility, so we were working with geriatric populations, and we were basically doing CNA work. We had a skills lab, so we would go in and just learn about certain skills, and we would practice and have checkoffs. Patho farm, health and illness, and then health assessment. And I'm missing one. What's that other class is called? That other class, professional roles. Professional roles, we just kind of just learn more about, I guess you could say, the social side of nursing. That class was really, really easy. But as far as difficulty levels, I think Patho farm and health assessment were my two hardest classes. Patho farm is hard because, you know, you're learning about drugs and how they affect the body, and you're learning about diseases. Like, you're learning about a whole lot of things that are new to you, and, you know, drugs and that type of, the different names and different classes, like all of that was new to me. So it's just a lot to remember. It's like learning a different language because, you know, we're not used to knowing stuff about the drug names or whatever. But for Patho Farm, I really had a great professor. She had a lot of different resources for us to make sure that we learned the information. Oh, I forgot to mention, like, make sure you use study guides. I think for all of my courses, our teachers would make a study guide for us. So I would just make sure y'all just go through, fill out y'all study guides and use that as a reference. But for Patho Farm, we would have an exam once every month. And I prefer it that way. But Patho Farm, I want to say 90% of our grade was based off of test taking. So I think that's what makes it hard. So you gotta be a real good test taker to get through it. 10% was just like some smaller, some smaller assignments. But it wasn't as bad as I thought. Health assessment, I feel like people don't mention that class, but y'all kind of sleep on it. For my school, I think what made it difficult, we had a midterm, we had another test, a documentation exam, and then we had a final. The documentation exam was pretty okay for me. We just had to look at pictures and say, well, this is jaundice, this is varicose veins, like this is scoliosis, you know, that type of thing. But it got hard once we had to listen to heart and lung sounds and identify which each thing is. The lung sounds is pretty easy. Listening to the lung sounds is pretty easy. Hearing the difference between cackles and crackling and wheezing, bronchi, that was pretty straightforward. But as far as the heart sounds, I didn't know what I was hearing. It was S1, S2, S3, S4, splitting. I didn't know what, a murmur, I didn't know what I was hearing. It all sounded pretty similar to me, but it really wasn't that bad. But I don't like having a midterm and then a final. I'd rather just have those monthly exams. So I think that's what kind of made it hard. But for that course, we'll come in, depending on what our unit is, we learn about the heart for this lecture. We'll just learn about different signs and symptoms of conditions, different signs and symptoms that something is wrong. And then we'll go to our lab and do our head to toe assessment to make sure everything is normal. But yeah, that class wasn't too bad, but I just didn't like the exam schedule, basically. Health and illness was not that bad of a course. It was pretty straightforward. I didn't spend too much time studying for that one. I feel like the other courses, the information we learned in the other courses kind of helped me prepare for that course, if that makes sense. Clinicals, you guys shouldn't be worried about that. All you got to do is show up, and we had we only did like 2 assignments for clinicals, 2 big assignments, but it was pretty straightforward. Or maybe we had a easygoing professor, I don't know, but or instructor. Skills lab was pretty straightforward as well. We had our instructor was pretty easygoing, and they would kind of help us out as we go. So yeah. All right, y'all, so some general tips. One, you gotta be patient with your learning. It's a process. You're not gonna learn all this overnight. Just relax. Socialize, make friends. I think it's beneficial to work with other people and just build off of each other's learning and help each other. I don't know, I just feel like that makes the process a lot easier. Start off strong. So in the beginning of the semester, do your best to get the highest grade possible, because once exam time came around, you know, I tried really hard in the beginning for Pathopharm, and once I started doing some calculations, I'm like, okay, I would have to do really bad on this exam for my grade to go down to a C. So I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna spend all my time studying for this final, y'all. And I was so burnt out, I ended up studying literally the night before my final for Pathopharm. And I didn't read the directions right. I spent so much time on the old stuff, and I was really supposed to spend time on the new content. But anyways, I left with my B, and I was just fine with that, because at that point I couldn't do nothing to get an A. I could get 100% on the exam and still not get an A. But you want to make sure you're not at the line where you can like fail. You want to make sure you don't, or you're not, you know, you don't have to get like 100% just to pass the course, because yeah, there was people that were on the cusp. You don't want to be on the cusp of failing. But for my school, it depends on the school, but for ours, you have to get like a 79% overall to pass the course. Another tip, you gotta stay organized. You gotta stay on top of things. Time management is probably the hardest part in nursing school. I always felt like I never had enough time to do stuff, enough energy. As far as working, some point I was working like 5 days a week. I wasn't working a full 40 hours, I don't think, but I was working 5 days a week. Then I cut down to, I think I cut down to about 4 days a week. That works pretty good, but I would suggest working 3 days a week. And they told us to start off working 20 hours and build up and work more if we can, but they said 20 hours or less is suggested. But I know that's not possible for everybody, because some people, you know, they got bills to pay, they got kids to take care of, all of that stuff. But yeah. All right, y'all, so I think that's all of the tips I have to say. If you guys have any questions, please comment down below. Also, I have my Instagram linked. You guys can DM me. Just comment that you DM'd me, because I don't be paying attention, and when I get DMs, they go to the requests. But that's all for today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.